so-called flying saucers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the SA. It's rotating.
Is there any compelling physical evidence?
The question is, who are people like Carl Sagan and before him, Professor Donald Menzel? It turns out that Sagan, in his early career, actually spoke and wrote about UFOs in a way that was affirmative, that was legitimate. After he was threatened by the intelligence community and blackmailed,
was asking him to help organize his files, and Jacques Vallée came upon a file of a document that was classified that he shouldn't have seen, that basically talked about this, a program that paralleled Project Blue Book, but it was way underground, with way more funding, way better scientists, all these things.
The document revealed an ultra-secret, highly funded scientific investigation, working parallel to Blue Book, unknown to all but a select few. The letter was signed by H.C. Cross, Director of Exotic Metallurgy at Battelle National Laboratories,
which he ultimately got publicly released for. We featured it in the Phenomenon, but it was a parallel effort that had just gone underground.
Do we know anybody involved in that effort?
It's in the Phenomenon, and I don't know if there's any particular names. There probably were. I'd have to look back. It's been a few years since I've seen the document, but basically the implication was there was a very well funded, panel of eminent scientists that were involved, and that the Project Blue Book was just a dog and pony show.
The Phenomena, by the way, is an incredible movie, and I want to say half my friends got converted into believing in UFOs from that movie. It's just so comprehensive and detail-oriented, and I remember that part of that movie, and then I interviewed Jacques, and I think I had forgotten that there was a deeper program than Blue Book, and he goes, there was a deeper program that the Air Force had around this stuff.
They had a real project going on that was secret. Okay.
Is that true?
And the Air Force did.
Oh, I didn't know that. And in this Australian document, they do mention Freeman Dyson, Edward Teller, father of the H-bomb.
Yep.
Robert Oppenheimer is mentioned, John Wheeler. So guys who are, we just made a $130 million movie on Oppenheimer. It would be mind-blowing if he, was part of any of the UFO stuff. And there's a book by William Steinman called, UFO Crash, about the Aztec crash retrieval. And they say Oppenheimer was part of the retrieval team.
It wouldn't surprise me, because if if these accounts are true, and of course I believe they are, these crash retrieval accounts, you'd want the best minds.
You would. You'd need the best
You'd
minds.
need the best minds. So,
yeah.
Of course you would.
And you have these weird, so Oppenheimer was facing this kangaroo court. It's documented in the Nolan movie. Supposedly the kangaroo court was around, his sympathies for the communists or whatever, schmoozing with socialists in the 30s and 40s, whatever. But there's a theory out there that maybe it was actually around UFOs. And so that the head of the kangaroo court was a guy named Gordon Gray, who, who knows whether the MJ-12, Majestic 12 stuff is real, the dubious kind of origins, as you're very aware of. But if it was, Gordon Gray was on the Majestic 12.
MJ-12 or Magic 12 or Majestic. This document is easily the most controversial in UFO circles. It is supposedly a briefing document prepared in 1952 for President-elect Dwight Eisenhower, explaining that a secret group of scientists and military men had been created by President Truman to study the UFO situation and to keep a lid on it.
And so the guy who might have been on Truman's, official UFO panel, Eisenhower's official UFO, advisory team, is heading up the kangaroo court, basically stripping Oppenheimer of his Q clearance. And there's some very weird quotes in that transcript as well. It's online now, and you have von Neumann defending Oppenheimer, saying, don't blame him too much. It took him a while to accommodate to the new Buck Rogers universe that we're living in. Wow. So it's like weird stuff like that. Like, why are you referencing Buck Rogers? Space travel, time travel, strange stuff like that. And then and Oppenheimer keeps saying a lot happened between 45 and 49. He keeps saying that.
Really?
And when did all the crashes happen? A lot of the crashes happened 45, 49. And if it were really about, leakages in the Manhattan Project or socialist sympathies or whatever, that would be 41 through 45. It wouldn't have anything to do with it. So anyways.
Yep.
All right, so first of all, to that, I want to say Magic Guys Only. This is a really good book. And here they're talking about the Department of Energy. At the time, it was called the Atomic Energy Commission, which, by the way, J. Allen Hynek tried getting into. Dr. McDonald, I'm not sure if they got access, but remember, there was always a division, and there was always people. Donald Kehoe used to call them the secrecy group, and people who wanted some sort of level of disclosure. But these people, they're called IC2. Let me see. The General Advisory Committee of the Atomic Energy Commission, most notably Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer, was identified as IS2 as well as other members among paperclip specialists. Identified as IS2 were Dr. Werner von Braun, Dr. M. Steinhoff, and Dr. Hubertus Strughold. And then there was an Aero Medical Lab in Randolph Field. I apologize because of my reading, and these documents are hard to read. So I definitely think there was something going on with Oppenheimer, something sketch. But look at this. This Department of Energy, 1946. Now we know the UFO stuff started before 1947. 1947 is just that the media picked it up, and a lot of things happened. But the Trinity case from 1945. The Cape Girardeau 1941, the February 1942, it's and God knows how many, and the Foo Fighters in the World War II. This was going on, but after we blew the atomic bomb, it got crazy. So they had to change the atomic policy. That's what they did in 1946, and let me show you something. So Bush and Connon's conception was that a 12-man commission on atomic energy should be appointed by the President of the United States. And yeah. Then here Richard tells us a lot of interesting coincidences. He says Carl Sagan had a clearance, Hynek, and many other interesting people like Dr. Donald Mansell. Yeah, atomic energy clearance. So in this document, they're going through the 1946 Act of the Atomic Energy Act of 1946, and it starts by saying, special issues by the government have yielded the bulk of information for the study for reasons that are not wholly clear, but the Atomic Energy Act of 1946 has not been given the attention it deserves in the way of scholarly writing. Necessity dictated that a great deal of the atomic energy programs be kept secret, and yet the American people required some method by which the progress could be checked. How this was achieved through the Atomic Energy Act of 1946 was a tremendous accomplishment that should make Americans proud of their democratic government. Unfortunately, Americans are vastly unaware of the importance and uniqueness of this episode in American history. These theses attempts to relate to the reader what is one of the most most significant events in contemporary American political science. I'll leave it there. Because then it wants to go back to 1940, and I don't care. I want to know what happens 1946, 47, and plus.
670 million miles per hour, the speed of light. A round trip from the vicinity of Proxima Centauri to Earth would take more than 8.5 years of Earth time. So those scientists who are inclined to think the universe may abound in intelligent life tend to believe that God's quarantine, as some of them call the distance which separates us, will make radio signals the ultimate form of communication, not spaceships. Great electronic ears have enabled man to listen for electromagnetic signals from the farthest objects in the universe that have so far been detected. This one, 1,000 feet in diameter, in Arecibo in Puerto Rico, is operated by Cornell University for the Advanced Research Projects Agency and is engaged in a number of deep space and planetary projects. If we are not alone in the universe, instruments like this, pursuing carefully programmed listening exercises, may one day bring us a fateful message. The astronomers have long been the leading theorists on the possibility of life in outer space. Astronomer Carl Sagan is consultant to a current Air Force scientific panel. Astronomer Thornton Page was on a CIA committee that investigated UFO reports in 1952. Its conclusion? No evidence of UFOs.
Our panel was expected to be, and I think was, objective in its approach, and tried to evaluate all the reports without saying they're ridiculous in advance. That has been repeated quite recently, and that is a good reason for talking with Carl Sagan here, because he's in the same position that I was, being the only astronomer in a similar panel.
There's not a single verified or checked out report which is at all connectable with the possibility of extraterrestrial life. It doesn't say that I think extraterrestrial life is impossible. Quite the contrary. I think that many of the stars in the sky have planetary systems. We know enough now about the origin of life to make it appear likely that life arises naturally on the vast bulk of these planets. It's possible, but by no means certain, that life on many of these planets evolves into beings which are as advanced as we, or more advanced. And I don't see any reason why we can't imagine that there are civilizations thousands or millions of years in advance of ourselves, capable of technical feats that we can hardly imagine. If you would believe, as the flying saucer cultists would have us believe, that the majority of the saucer reports are due to visitations, then you have a very strange situation. That means several spaceships are coming to the Earth over interstellar distances every day, as if all the anthropologists in the world were to converge on one of the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean because they just invented the fishnet there or something. I think it's much more reasonable if you want to speculate on the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence, that there are very rare visits from extraterrestrials to the Earth. There's no evidence for this. I just say that's not implausible. But to have several visits a day, I think, is straining credulity. I think a key to what's behind the real belief in flying saucers is most easily obtained if you look at the contact myths. There are several hundred people in the United States who claim to have had personal contact with the inhabitants of flying saucers who have landed. And if you examine these myths, you find that there are some peculiar regularities. The inhabitants of saucers are benevolent. I mean, they're really concerned for our well-being. They're omnipotent, extremely powerful, omniscient, extremely knowledgeable, and they often wear long white robes. Now, this combination is something I've heard in another context. This isn't science, this is religion. And what I suspect is happening is this. We live in very unsettled times. It used to be possible to believe in a personal, benevolent, powerful, all-knowing God who cared about individuals who you could pray to. But now, there's very few people who really believe that, I think. Science, for good or for ill, has destroyed a lot of the traditional theologies. And yet people have the same needs to believe that they always did, perhaps more so because of the times we live in. Well, the flying saucer myths are a really clever compromise. It's a way of having beings that come from the sky, that are worried about us, that are powerful, that are going to step in and prevent us from destroying ourselves, as we very well might, and yet have it in the cloak of science, so that no one can say nonsense that doesn't match science. It's all very pseudo-scientific. I would think that that at least for the contact myths and probably for a lot of the events of people who just see things they don't understand flying overhead, that what's involved psychology and theology and not so much the physical sciences.
So, as we have seen, scientists think the evidence is mounting that life in some form exists elsewhere in the universe. But almost unanimously, they find no evidence that anything out there has come here. One thing is clear. You could not keep a spaceship a secret. Too many professionals with too many powerful instruments are probing the skies these days. And too many journalists could not be restrained from trumpeting one of the greatest news stories of all time.
That was funny. That last thing that guy said was hilarious. That we can't keep secrets, a flying saucer. I mean, look, how many cases do we have of UFOs and nukes? How many? With credible people. And how many cases do we have of intimidation to journalists? I mean, look at Roswell. People were freaked out. Basically they told them, we're gonna kill you if you say something. Maury Island, there was two journalists that I can't remember. It was 2 weeks before Roswell, and yeah, died under strange circumstances. And then you put the stigma of pseudoscience, and you pitch. You guys should check out the UFO 1968 symposium on Congress. What Carl Sagan did was sound so smart and rational. And then he pitched the idea for SETI, whatever, which ended up, we got nothing. We got what, the wow signal from 1974? Meanwhile, Travis, not Taylor. Travis Walton's getting like abducted in 1975, passing polygraphs, and his friends, some not so friends, like traumatized, like, yeah, that happened. It's just, there's so much, dude. And yes, we can keep secrets. But at the same time, the secret's been out. It's just been stigmatized. It's all over the books. I mean, I got right there in my backpack, Magic Eyes Only. I got UFOs and Nukes. I got The Day After Roswell. And I think I got Chasing Shadows from Tom DeLonge or something. And I got more around. But the Department of Energy keeps coming up, okay? And, you know, now we know these people had atomic clearances. Dr. Condon, Carl Sagan himself, Dr. Donald Mansell, Vannevar Bush, all these MJ-12 guys, all of them. And we have the internet. We have the internet, and what that means is information travels like this. All right? We have mystery drones. That the President of the United States even almost said, it's not up to me to disclose. What? And, you know, we also had those February shootdowns. I don't know what those were, but why can't they show us the Chinese balloon and not the others? National security, national security. And you expect me to believe you to BS? Oh, and by the way, guess who put that video of freaking Carl Sagan with CIA guy who was on the Robertson panel, who we know that's the stigma, that's where it really took off. They didn't want to know about UFOs. Like, guess who posted that video? Neil deGrasse Tyson, which I didn't know. I just realized this, and I'm like, huh. Are you that ignorant or something else going on? I don't know. But then also you have all these theories of how time and space work now. All right, so a lot of these UFOs, I know this sounds crazy, but just think about quantum physics for a minute. They're manipulating space-time. They're manipulating gravity. So what if getting to far places is not that difficult that way? And what if time is not what we think, where time is linear? Maybe for us, but maybe not for them. Maybe not even for the people messing around with this technology. What are their capabilities? And what are they doing? Just a thought. Kind of pissed off a little bit at Carl Sagan. I like Contact a lot, and you know what? And the Arecibo, where they used to catch these radio signals, and you know what happened to that? Who knows? Maybe it was an alien. It was. This is almost what I want, because it was like that's where SETI was. Like, I legit hope it was a pissed off alien or whatever. Maybe one of the good legacy guys was just resentful and did this, even though this still breaks my heart.